All right, so today we're going to be talking about exercise selection. Which exercises should you be doing at the gym? And I think, this is the first point that I've written down here. Is really not that deep. These days people like to make it out to be when you go on TikTok and you go on Instagram and you see people, really sweating, carrying a bench throughout the whole gym just to get the right angle to do a lat pull down on the cables where you're like, come on, you know. Like it's really not that deep, bro. Because what a lot of people don't really realize is there aren't many bad exercises out there. Like I have a list down here. Like if like most fucking exercises check this box. Like if I do a curl like this and have some sort of weight in my hand, like it's gonna train my biceps. Okay, like it's like people make it out to be like if you get the slightest angle wrong, you'll fucking die and you will never build muscle at all. And it's not true, bro. Like it's just not true at all. So don't get discouraged by that. And I think it's important that you have fun. I have this written down in my list here too. Like do exercises that you like doing. Most likely you'll like them for a reason. Like you can feel the muscle well, you don't have any pain, shit like that. This is like I think one of the most important indicators of whether or not an exercise is actually good or not. If it's fun to you, okay. So I think you should always start like with an exercise, or you don't have to do this, but people act like you can do shit like it. Oh man, he's got his elbows flared on butterfly or on bench, and he's gonna fucking injure his shoulder. It's just not the way it usually works. For some people, that may be the case, but in general, you can do almost every movement there if you start light and you slowly progress up. Like, dude, you see people deadlifting with the roundest back ever. They've just worked up on that. Their body has adapted to it. They can do that. So it's another fucking lie that gets spread online, bro. I don't know why people just like to sound smart and shit. But if you really think about it, it just makes sense, right? I mean, come on, we're humans. We're meant to fucking move. You're not gonna fucking hurt yourself doing it if you do it correctly, okay? But if you're starting out, like I'm gonna give actual recommendations here, obviously, because this is what this video is about, and I don't want you to walk away from this video thinking like I don't know what exercises to do. Like in general, I just want to get the message across that it's really not that important to stress about. There's other things to stress about, such as sleep. For example, it's like not stress about it, but to care about that you actually try hard to get good sleep because this will determine whether or not your fucking hormones are in place and if you're actually going to grow muscles from these exercises that you're doing, right? And how good your workout is going to be, stuff like that. Um, but in general, like if you're starting out at the gym and you want to get jacked, like what do I recommend to you? I recommend you doing compound lifts. Now, what are compound lifts? It's like free weight compound lifts, bro. Like you do squat, bench, deadlift, overhead pressing, rows. There's so many good things you can do. These exercises are great because they fucking target a ton of muscle. In the beginning, your body is very sensitive to growth. And you're training a whole bunch of muscles with these exercises and they're all going to grow because your body's so sensitive to that growth. And this will lay the foundation for your whole lifting career, let's say. This will train your movement patterns. This will get you to fucking digest this into your brain, like how to move. Like if you can move heavy barbells and dumbbells around in a controlled manner, you can do any exercise there is. That's why I think it's not a great idea to start with like only isolation work. And when I was working at a gym, a lot of the trainers there, they had these people, start on the machines. But when you start out, any fucking exercise you're gonna do is gonna feel like shit because you're not used to it, right? So why not start with the fucking hardest thing that's gonna lay the foundation for your whole fucking lifting journey? You can do anything if you can fucking squat, bench, and deadlift, and overhead press and row, bro. You can do fucking anything. You seriously can. And now imagine you start on the fucking machines. Like you start on the fucking isolation machines, and all of a sudden now you want to move to fucking cables, it's gonna fucking feel weird because it's a step up. You're gonna move to free weights, it's gonna fucking feel even weirder. You have this fucking hurdle so many more times because you're just not used to this sort of stuff. Like if you can move barbells around, you can do anything. That's why you should start with it. It's gonna be much more efficient at building muscle too, especially if you're on a time restraint. It's gonna be massive. This is what I recommend for people that are busy, that work. This is so important because nobody talks about this online. Most people just want to get the most amount of growth, bodybuilding workouts, right? Just in the fucking high investment, and you get a little bit more out of it. But to be more efficient means to do exercises that can take less time to do because you don't have to do every single fucking isolation work, bro. Doing a couple of compounds, heavy, low volume, you're gonna be golden because you're gonna be saving time. You're gonna be training almost your whole body. You know, deadlifts, you're gonna be training almost your whole posterior chain. You know, so that's why I like doing compounds. If you're starting out at the gym, in my opinion, you should be starting out with compounds. This helped me a lot on my journey, to be completely honest. Um, but when you get later on, I have a nice graphic here. You're gonna like this. What I have, it's nothing too fancy, but I think it visualizes it very well, so you have a better understanding of this. Um, but at some point after doing like I think you should start out with compound lifts, but after a certain point, if you gain some experience at the gym, I think you should start looking into some other exercise and you should be trying shit out. You know, maybe I'll have you do incline bicep curls or upright rows or dumbbell ladder raises, some sort of variation on, or reverse flies on the cable, something like that. Because there may be exercises that are going to work super well for you. Like I said, this is not the end of the world. If you not do the fucking most optimal exercise, you're not gonna fucking stay small. You know, it's gonna be a marginal improvement, but obviously we want to fucking get something out of the gym, right? So if we can improve something and not lose out on anything, like why not do it, right? And if you're looking for new exercise, you should ask yourself the question like, what does this exercise do for me? And in general, in my opinion, exercises should, number one, recruit the target muscle. Obviously, if you want to do a bicep curl, I want to fucking use my biceps. Otherwise, it's not going to make any sense. This is the foundation, okay? Number two, have the target muscle be the limiting factor. Of course, like for example, like people oftentimes they do where they fucking hang on a bar and they pull their knees up or some shit for abs. But the problem is, in most of these cases, maybe your grip is going to be the limiting factor because you're holding your whole body weight there. Obviously, it's not going to fucking train your abs that well. Or if you're doing rows or lat pull downs and your grip goes out too, it's not optimal. Or your biceps. So sure, like you're gonna grow those muscles, but that's not what we're doing the exercise for, right? And exercise should never give you number three. Should never give you joint pain. Like this is a red flag. Like if you do an exercise and your joints hurt, don't do that exercise. Um, and it should be fun. This is what I was talking about earlier. Like usually this is the best indicator. Like if you like doing an exercise, probably most of these boxes will be ticked, just naturally. Um, and it should give you a good tension in the stretch position. There's some research suggesting that most likely the stretch position, in exercise is going to be the most beneficial for muscle growth. Like I said, not going to make the hugest difference ever, right? But it's something that I think we should take into account when lifting. So if you can find an exercise that checks all the other boxes and also gives you tension in the stretch position, probably looking good there. Okay, and gaining a good pump too is a great indicator. Like if you're doing an exercise and you just feel pumped the fuck up afterwards, that's it's an indicator that at least that muscle got worked a lot. Okay, like I said, not the most number one thing, but it's a good indicator. These things start stacking up, right? And number seven, get the target muscle as sore as possible. Like if you do a new chest exercise and days after, your chest is like, oh, sore, you can't even fucking move, bro. Rush to do that exercise again. That shit is probably very good for your fucking chest. Um, and it should have a good stimulus to fatigue ratio. If you don't know what that is, what a stimulus fatigue ratio is, like if you do an exercise, and you get a good muscle stimulus, but it also get a ton of fatigue, right? Your systemic fatigue goes up. You won't be able to do that exercise for so long. You're gonna have to do deloads because you're gonna be feeling very lethargic, getting weaker, maybe even if you fucking overdo it. That's not good. So if you do an exercise that gives you a great stimulus but low fatigue, like for example, bicep curls or lateral raises standing up versus sitting down. Like obviously sitting down, you're gonna be a bit less fatigued because you don't have to be fucking stabilizing that shit so much, right? It's more isolated. That's usually the better way to go because the less fatigue, obviously, the better, right? But I think obviously this is an important caveat to this. Like if you're doing exercise one time, you can't tell all of this. Obviously, you should always try to fucking, in my opinion, try to do an exercise for at least a couple of weeks. Keep it in the program because obviously you're gonna get more comfortable. Your body is gonna get more adapted to it, and you're gonna be feeling more in tune with the exercise. And if after a couple of weeks of doing this exercise, you're still feeling like this, then just switch it out, never do it again. Um, and I think it's a really important thing to do this once on your lifting journey, I guess. And because there's no one size fits all solution for um for exercises, because we're all different. We all have different you know, arm lengths. You know, we're all composed differently. Like an exercise that works great for me might not work for another guy. Like for example, I don't do any butterfly variation. I tried every fucking butterfly variation there is. For chest, I only do pressing movements. That's all I do, because I experience joint pain when I do butterflies. Just because everybody does butterfly, you don't have to fucking do it. You can do it differently. That's the message I'm trying to get across here. But what I wanted to quickly touch upon here is is kind of like the way it should go naturally for somebody that lifts at the gym. This is how it has been for me, and I think if it's like this for you, you're definitely on the right path. Like we have this fucking arrow that goes down. This is as it goes further down, your experience increases. Right, this is time basically, right? So you start out with compound movements, like I said before: squat, bench, deadlift, overhead press, rows. You know, just getting the basic down. You're learning to lift basically, and you're building a fuck ton of muscle with heavy compound movements, because a lot of your muscles are getting trained with these very heavily, and your body's so sensitive to growth. You're gaining a ton of muscle. It's great. As you get more into the intermediate stage, you should start to try out a bunch of shit, right? And see what type of exercise work well for you, what don't. And once you get into the advanced level, which is years down the road, probably for a lot of you watching this, it's far away. You know, you should have your fucking set exercises that you've tried, and you already have this data now because you know what works for you and what doesn't, and you should have this pool of exercises you can pick from, and always you know, switch them out here and there, because you know you know, probably it is the best idea to kind of switch your exercises around, because you don't want your body to adapt too much to a certain exercise. You know, sometimes switching out an exercise for another mesocycle, or from one macro cycle to the next, can be beneficial, you know, just to give you a fucking new stimulus again. You know, you're gonna feel really sore again after switching an exercise out. I've experienced that quite a lot of times. So not, I wouldn't try to do like the same set of exercises for your whole life. I'd always have a pool of exercises that in the end that you choose from. This is for more down the road, and that you switch out every mesocycle. I like to do this every mesocycle. You can do it every macro cycle. It's not that deep. All right. So yeah, man, exercises, and what you should, you know, keep in mind for these exercises if you choose them, or how to choose them. Basically, pretty much summed up here in this video. If you have any questions, my DMs are always open on Instagram, man. My IG link is in the bio of my YouTube, so definitely fucking click it. Follow me over there. I always post my workouts, always post my meals. I always, you know, talk on my stories a lot, and I'm there for you, man, in DMs to answer some questions. I'm trying to help you out. But all right, man. Thanks for watching.